Hello again to all of you. I hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. You're very welcome to this BlockW webinar on how blockchain technology can impact on a particular industry. And in this case, we're looking at the horse racing industry. My name is Joyce O'Connor. I'm co-founder of BlockW, whose mission is to increase access and awareness to blockchain technology and other emerging technologies. We're particularly interested in diversity and inclusivity in bringing people in to understand the use of this technology and creating pathways to education and training. We also talk to policymakers so that they can understand and see the impact of this powerful technology, blockchain and other technologies like AI. We're very pleased today to welcome Michael Young, who's CEO of Equideq, which was established in 2019. Horses have always had a special place in Irish society. The sport of kings, we are told. But of course, there's another side to horse racing industry and horse racing. Many people, including myself, will always put a punt on the Grand National, whether it's in the Curragh or whether it's in Aintree. And we love to see a horse romping home by an Irish consortium to win the race. And we'd all like to be part of that syndicate. So Michael Young and his company Equideq have made this possible to purchase a share in a horse through fractionalization of ownership. Michael has also applied this principle to bloodstock sales using blockchain technology to safely and efficiently enable anyone to purchase a share in a racehorse. And Michael's company, as I said, is established in 2019, but he has developed the platform in numerous ways. I know he'll tell us about that. Michael himself has experience in the horse racing industry, both as a breeder and an owner. He has over 25 years in experience in the IT industry and in a range of engineering and sale leadership roles. Michael has a very interesting story to tell. So it's over to you, Michael, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Thank you for that kind introduction. Yeah, look, just a little bit of background. Like you said, I'm the CEO of Equideq. We're a company based down here in Cork, and we've been working for the last couple of years now, based with our experience and my experience in the horse industry, but to leverage the revolution that's really happening in the fintech space, right? In terms of fintech technologies and also in terms of regulatory technologies, to make horse ownership much more accessible and much more affordable, but also, Joyce, very, very more secure and transparent. And the wonderful thing about blockchain, which a lot of people will know, it's really about the democratization of assets and making those available and more accessible to a much, much larger audience in a very secure and transparent way. And that's one of the reasons we saw a great opportunity to really leverage this technology to take, as you'll see, an inherently analog industry, right? And really help with the digitalization or the digital transformation of this industry. So let me look, I've got a couple of slides. I think it'd be a great way to probably share with people the story of what we're doing. And then I'd also like to maybe show people, give them a little taste of the platform after the presentation. So let me jump straight in, Joyce.
Thanks very much, Michael.
Okay, so let me just share a little bit of a background on the industry. I'm conscious that not everybody really is familiar as it myself. One of the curious aspects or interesting aspects actually is horse racing is actually the second largest spectator sport in Ireland and the UK, with over 7 million racing fans attending race courses in 2018. It's absolutely huge. And we see it, we see it on our TVs, and we see it in the Cheltenham, and like you were mentioning, Joyce, in Aintree in the Grand National. But still, a lot of people wouldn't realise that it's actually the second largest spectator sport. Also, as people I'm sure are aware, it's a huge sport and industry, right, in Ireland and the UK. but it's still only a drop in the ocean when you consider that in Ireland and the UK, we've about 20,000 racehorses competing in each year on average. But you've actually got around 240,000, right? It's almost 250,000 globally across 52 countries. So it's actually quite a very, very large sport, and obviously linked in with that, quite a huge industry that's linked in with that as well. As Joyce, as you mentioned, horse syndication, it's interesting actually, because it's actually one of the oldest forms of asset democratization. And when we talk about blockchain and we talk about the democratization of assets, I'm sure everybody's aware that syndication, or people owning a hair on the back or a leg or a tail in a horse, has been something that's been around for a very, very long time. What's interesting is actually syndication is something that's growing year on year, and more people are getting involved in the syndication of horses. A lot of that too has to do with the fact that sole ownership, where obviously an individual owns a horse, is actually in decline. It's becoming prohibitively expensive, and the industry is actually more and more trying to attract and support, and quite successfully, right, to a degree, attracting in more and more people to get involved in ownership. The difficulty is, and this goes back to kind of talking about an analog industry, the industry isn't set up, right, in terms of digitalization to really make that accessible and affordable to a larger audience. And one of the things we're seeing in the UK, and in particular even in Australia, is instead of a horse being, broken into 20 shares, horses are now being divided into 100 shares or even 1,000 shares. And as you can imagine, trying to administer the sale and management of those shares, and the coming and going of individuals, and the processing of payments and prize money, doing that in an analog fashion is something that makes it inherently difficult for not just the industry, but also the public. Okay, so that's a big driver for what we're doing here. And if you actually look, and speaking on the democratization of assets, and you look at blockchain technology is actually enabling many new forms of asset democratization, right? And in the form of digital assets. But also, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, when we talk about digital assets, we're talking about digital shares, which is making shares available in an asset, right? But also digital collectibles, or NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which I'm sure many people are beginning to hear and see out there in the industry as well. But the big thing really is blockchain and asset democratization. It's really spawned a crypto asset industry worth over 2 trillion in the space of 10 years, right? So it's absolutely incredible what's actually happening in the blockchain and the crypto asset space at the moment. Horse digital assets, I want to touch on it here because Equideq is actually the first to trade digital shares in real horses. Or we're the first to enable people to actually buy crypto assets in horses, purchase those in the primary market, and trade those on an exchange. And we'll show you that in a moment. But there's some interesting other companies out there that are starting to make digital assets in the form of collectibles available in virtual horses. Okay, now I know this is a bit of a stretch, right? And a bit mind-bending for some people. You're talking about digital assets in real horses and digital assets in virtual horses. But on the blockchain, I'm sure a lot of folks are seeing that there's a lot of minting happening of these virtual types of assets or NFTs. And there's one company that's doing that with horses. And it's very, very interesting what they're doing, okay? Also on another angle, and we'll talk a little bit about them in the moment, there's a French company called SoRare, and they're actually creating digital collectibles in real soccer players with real soccer clubs. They recently just got 650 million investment, okay, from SoftBank in Japan. So it's a rapidly moving space in this digital asset space on the blockchain, whether we're talking about real tangible assets or these types of virtual assets. But I guess the key thing here is the opportunity. Like I said, there's a real digital asset revolution taking place. And there's a terrific opportunity for not just the horse industry, for any sport, for any industry to really take advantage of the latest technologies to really make digital assets and alternative assets, or digital assets in the form of digital collectibles, now more secure and accessible to everyone. And we're seeing that, okay? In fact, I just wanted to share this slide because on the subject of digital collectibles, and really to allow people to kind of get a grasp of what's actually happening in this digital asset space. I mentioned Zed Run. They allow people to purchase, race, and breed in a 100% virtual environment. They even hold horse racing in a completely virtual environment right now. They're a privately held company, but they've raised 20 million back in July, and they've gone from strength to strength with over 14,000 active users. So Rare, again, like I said, in soccer, a 3.8 billion valuation in a new company like this that has really only been founded back in 2019 as well. NBA Top Shot, round a little bit longer, but a 7.6 billion valuation. They are making digital collectibles available in the NBA basketball in the States. So an amazingly dynamic and fast-moving industry in terms of the digital assets and particularly the digital collectibles market. So how does that feed into our vision? Okay, in terms of what Equideq does, and in terms of what our goals are for the industry. And really, Equideq has set out to really provide a complete industry solution to allow the horse industry to generate, sell, and manage digital assets and real horses, okay, by owners. And when we're talking about digital assets, absolutely, we're talking about digital shares, having real equity ownership stake in horses. But also, as you'll see, we're also allowing owners in horses to actually mint their own digital collectibles. It's probably worth noting here, when you look at a lot of the digital collectibles and the arrangements and partnerships that are happening in the industry, for example, with So Rare, they have an agreement with each of the soccer clubs to be able to mint digital collectibles and soccer players. The horse industry is very different. Every horse is owned individually or by a syndicate. Okay, so you have to have a way to allow each individual owner in the horse industry to be able to mint their own digital collectibles, and that's or indeed make their own digital shares available for sale or lease on the platform as well. And also, look, we've set out from the start, like I said, to really leverage the latest financial and regulatory technologies to really digitalize an industry that's largely analog. Because if you were to do this and you were to make these digital assets available, as you can imagine, Joyce, it's very, very important to have a very secure and transparent platform to financial services platform to do this by adopting the best financial services best practice and regulatory requirements, which is what we do. But ultimately, then once we've built that foundation, we can now make owning and trading digital assets and horses much more accessible and affordable to everyone, which is our goal. And then on top of that, because you've got that foundation, you've done that digitalization, it's very, very exciting. As I'll show later, you can build a much more engaging user experience and tie benefits and rewards directly to ownership in these digital assets, whether they're shares or whether they're collectibles. So let me kind of give you an idea. So that's our vision, and really in terms of how we do it and what we do, we essentially leverage blockchain technology on a financial services platform to really automate and manage that whole process, like I said, of allowing an owner and a horse to create digital assets in their horses. And again, whether that's digital shares or digital collectibles. The process of creating digital collectibles is called minting. So we allow an owner to go in and mint a certain amount of digital collectibles in their horse, or make 500 shares available in a horse to sell if they want to actually sell the horse on the platform. The platform allows them to drop or make or release those digital assets to the public. They allow the public to actually be able to trade those. So once the public have purchased those and they have them in their digital wallet, they can now trade those, they can collect those, they can hang on to those, they can reap the benefits of having those having those digital assets. Like I said, it's very, very important to have full traceability, auditability of all payments and transaction history, which is recorded on the immutable blockchain ledger, which can be accessed by everyone and queried by everyone to see when an asset was actually created, when it was released, when it was sold, and the transactions that are happening on the platform. And like I said, then linking in a lot of these innovative benefits, communications, and user experience, which you can build now on top of a digital platform. So that's the solution. And essentially, in terms of our go-to-market, we make our platform available to the industry. So we are making our platform available to any owners. I probably won't get a chance to show it here, but we have an app where owners can go in. They can go in and enter a microchip number, a passport number of a horse. It brings up the details of the horse, and they can sell shares, lease shares, or mint digital collectibles in their horses in some very simple steps. The public, on the other side, okay, the public now can create a single account and digital wallet with Equideq. They're not going around to separate owners, separate entities, doing separate payments. It's all centrally managed, and they can do it just by creating one account with Equideq. And with their Equideq account, they will be able to see horses from across the industry, whether it's horses for racing, whether they're investing in foals for breeding, or whether they're collecting digital collectibles in some of the most famous race horses out there. And they can manage all this on a single platform. And again, like I said, get access to a lot of the other benefits and user experiences that come with that. So that's what we do, and that's our go-to-market. I want to probably talk a little bit more about the digital asset types, like I mentioned. We mentioned digital shares. Okay, and digital shares are essentially making equity available in a real horse. We do that today on the platform. We have race horses, we have foals for breeding right now from the Irish National Stud, that people can go in and buy a real equity stake in a real horse. That's breeding equity there. We also have lease options. So some people mightn't be interested in buying a share, but they'd like to have a horse for a year, have a horse for a day, have a horse for a race. Okay, we support an innovative offering called flash ownership. Because we've digitalized this now, we can make thousands and thousands of shares in a horse available before a race. That the public can go along and have a real stake or interest or fun and actually trade those with friends and family before and after races. So the digital shares, really, it's a digital share in a real horse, like we said. Very importantly, it's the owners actually doing this. They're leveraging our platform, our technology to go in themselves and actually be able to create these assets and release them on the platform. Obviously, with real shares, people are getting access to real world benefits, real prize money, race day benefits like access to the race course, access to the parade ring. But a big benefit as well is allowing people, like I said, to be able to trade these shares on a secondary market. That's digital shares. That's what we're live with. This is what's coming soon from Equideq, which is, as I mentioned, digital collectibles. And digital collectibles are interesting, right? It's very, very important with a digital collectible that you're creating rarity. So you're only minting a set amount of these digital collectibles. The fantastic thing with minting digital collectibles in horses is these digital collectibles are linked to a real live animal that's racing in the real world. And that real live animal is performing, is racing, its family is continuing to grow in terms of breeding. So this horse can actually, and this collectible, depending on how this horse is performing, can become more and more valuable. And horses can all start off their careers and they can move into legendary status, which we're all aware of the many horses out there that reach legendary status. So there's an opportunity here for the public to get in and get involved and actually buy and follow their horse, because when you buy these digital collectibles, you're now linked into the notifications and the updates and the pedigree of this horse and how it's performing. And you can get those updates on the platform, but you're also having a chance to collect something that potentially could become more valuable, that you could hold on to and collect, or again, like we said, trade on the secondary market with Equideq. Okay. One of the big things and one of the fantastic opportunities we see here as well is to be able to give back more to the industry, to be able to give back more to the horses themselves, and particularly horse welfare, where a portion of those proceeds or even some of the cards can be set aside for a horse's retirement to ensure that horses are looked after in their retirement, which is important as well. So that's digital collectibles, very, very exciting offering. A lot of interest, a rapidly moving market right now, but also a terrific opportunity for owners to be able to, with a click of a button, mint these collectibles in their horses, and the public to come in and have a chance to collect and follow, and to be able to also potentially trade these because they're just another form of digital assets. But also these digital collectibles, they unlock such a wealth of opportunities. And Joyce, you might remember when I gave my presentation last time to Blockchain Ireland, we were talking about our big focus about really the digitalization, because we knew once we put that digitalization in place, we can now build much more immersive experiences for our audience. Digital collectibles, for example, are a great way to be able to do that, right? Like I said, that card you're looking at there for Dundee, because that's a digital collectible and it's linked to a real live racehorse that's racing, it's a dynamic card. It's a live card. It's going to update in real time, linked to the race performance and pedigree page of that horse. And this allows people, like I said, to be able to collect these cards. They can trade them because they may become more valuable if the horse starts to win more races and wins higher graded races. But what's fantastic here is, and this is kind of touching on the Z Run space, which, if you recall, I mentioned earlier, allow people to buy completely virtual horses, race completely virtual made up horses. There's absolutely now an opportunity for people to own a share of a real horse, to have a digital collectible in a real horse, and take that digital collectible separately and race that digital collectible against other digital collectibles in virtual racing, or even breed horses virtually. This is what's happening in the digital collectible space. It's very, very exciting, but where we see our unique differentiator and our focus is on building that bridge between real live animals, real horses, the real horse industry, people not only having a digital collectible in a horse, but also now having the opportunity to own a real share in that horse as well, if they so wish. So that's digital collectibles. Very exciting space right now. So I just wanted to touch on this. I know this slide's probably a little bit overwhelming, but it probably gives people a good snapshot of really the power of the Equideq platform in terms of what it offers to the horse industry and to the public. And really, like I said, our goal, our go-to-market is where we will make this platform available to the horse industry. Any owner can come onto our platform, register on the platform, register and verify their horse. They can even create their own branded platform if they want their own portal just for their customers, which I'll show you shortly. But really, they can issue their own assets, digital assets, whether they're selling shares in real life horses, where they're leasing shares for a day, for a month in real life horses, or they're actually minting collectibles for their horses. The public on the other side, like I said, they can come in, they can register, create their single wallet, they can reserve and order shares, manage all their portfolio and payment history, just like you would do on an online stock trading platform or your online banking, manage all their benefits and trade. We have a blockchain explorer so people can go in and fully query and see all the transactions that are taking place on the blockchain. And then for the industry as well, they can manage all communications and notifications and payments and assets on the platform. So it really is an end-to-end platform for really allowing, like I said, the industry to create, to manage, to sell, to allow the public to be able to buy and trade these digital shares or these digital collectibles in horses. That's the team. Very briefly, myself and Neil, CTO, and some terrific advisors in the space. Cathal Beale, the CEO of the Irish National Stud, JB McCarthy, who heads up the Financial Services the Financial Services Innovation Centre in UCC, and Pete Townsend, a terrific fintech advisor, Pete is actually going to be heading up Techstars in Ireland in March, which will be kicking off here, which is the famous accelerator, which is a fantastic addition to the Irish startup ecosystem. So a terrific team, core team, and advisors. So that's it from an overview. I hope that was interesting. If we still have time, I'd like to maybe jump in and just give people a quick sneak peek of the platform. Does that sound good? Okay, so look, I mean, Equideq has been live. It's been live since the start of this year. We launched the platform with the Irish National Stud. Like I said, anybody can go in, they can go into the platform, they can create their own account, they can view and purchase and even trade shares and horses from our partners. We have the Irish National Stud, as I mentioned. We have Wasabi Venture Stables, who are one of the largest fractional ownership providers in race horses and in breeding in the United States, who've established Wasabi Venture Stables Ireland here to bring the excitement of Irish racing to a much larger audience. And they've signed a partnership agreement with us as well, and we're very excited to have them on board. But let me give you a snapshot of what you can see in that form with the horses. Like I said, anybody can go in and they can see the horses from our partners. You can see here we have some foals, breeding equity. We've got some race horses here in terms of racing lease. And normally we drop those or make those horses available as part of an initial offer. And this is where the public can buy these shares for the first time. These horses have already gone through the drop. They've already been released. People have bought their shares. And these horses are now live and trading on the secondary market or the exchange, where you can see that people are trading their shares. Cogen is a racing lease coming to the end of the lease. So people are starting to offload some of the shares. Hanvarana is a foal. Hanvarana is actually going to be going to the Goff sales, going into the auction ring next month, along with Dreamaway. And then anybody that bought their shares in the foal will see that foal being auctioned live. And the proceeds of that sale will be deposited directly into people's accounts on the Equideq platform. From a public standpoint, like I said, the public, and I'll just go in here with a test account, the public just create a single account themselves. They have their own portfolio where they can see the shares that they actually own. They can actually deposit and withdraw funds. They can see a history of all their transactions. Again, fully secure, fully transparent, and nothing like this is available in the industry, allowing syndicate owners to be able to have such a detailed oversight of the financial transactions and share management actually on the platform. What's interesting is that this is where people can go to see horses from all our partners. But as I mentioned, our partners can have their own branded platform as well. So this is the Irish National Stud website. If you go into INS Racing or Irish National Stud Racing, you can see that, boom, you can see that the Irish National Stud actually have all their horses listed on their website in their own branded platform. But the public are logging in and managing the horses with their own Equideq account and wallet. So it allows stud farms, trainers, other large breeders, syndicate agents, really to use our technology, our platform, to have their own front end on their own websites. But really, again, then just leveraging our technology to create, to manage those digital assets, whether it's lease shares, equity shares, and like I said, soon to launch the digital collectibles that owners themselves will be able to mint and make available to the public. So that's it. I hope that kind of gave people a bit of a snapshot of what we do. I'm always available for questions. If anybody would like to learn a little bit more, or absolutely get on the platform or even buy some shares. I'm only too delighted to help. Thanks, folks.